Ah, yes, a very special superhero edition of the panel. Why is it a superhero edition of the panel? Because for today, we have tales. We have epic tales of Quebec's two most popular superheroes. I'm talking about Captain Buzzkill and Wonder Boy. You may know them by their names of Lionel Carman, Junior Health Minister, and Immigration Minister Simon Jolin Barrette. And boy, in the last 24 hours, a couple of doozies from our superheroes. Let's talk about these guys and their latest plans to save Quebec from evils. Joining me on the panel, Trudie Mason. Hi, Trudie.
Good morning.
Also joining me on the panel, Jimmy Zoubris. How you doing, Jimmy?
Excellent. How you doing?
Of course, Jimmy is a special advisor to the mayor and Projet Montréal. Okay, guys. First superhero, Captain Buzzkill, the junior health minister. By the way, I just want to point this out. On something that the government says is so critical, right? Oh, this is such an important health issue. Why is the health minister, Danielle McCann, completely AWOL, not seen on this? Why is she not even talking about it? I have a feeling that not everyone in the CAQ government is cool with this. But here's the plan. January 1st, 2020, we will raise the minimum age for smoking cannabis to 21. And this is also going underneath the radar. We're not talking about it because everyone's focused on the 21. Though this new law also bans the smoking of cannabis in public places. All public places. You can still smoke cigarettes, which smell 18 kajillion times worse. But it'll ban that as well. Municipalities, according to this law, can then put in their own, they can lessen the restrictions and allow it in certain public places. But the standard for all of Quebec now, not allowed in public places. What do you guys think about this?
This is, first of all, in fairness to the CAQ, they campaigned on this. They didn't campaign, I don't believe, on the 20. I think at one point they even wanted to say we were going to reverse the law, and then they, excuse me, they backed down their position a little bit.
They said they were going to back down about the public spaces. They said that. It's in the law. Right,
but now they're giving the municipalities the right for public spaces. But this, of course, affects, let's say you go to the beach, right, which are run by the provinces, the big parks, the national parks, and a lot of other spaces. So, you know, you're going to have to step 15 feet out, smoke, and then go into the park, I guess, how it's going to work. I don't understand I think this is just basically that he wanted to fulfill a campaign promise. I mean, this is going to end up that...
facts be damned.
It
was a campaign promise. Facts be damned.
Yes.
We're just going to do it.
And it played up to a certain electorate, which elected the CAQ. I think they were going to end up the 19 and 20-year-old waiting at the door while the 21-year-old walks in. And
it's 3 more years, 18, 19, 20, 3 more years where kids, teenagers, just get used to the black market. And it's so much harder to pull someone back when they're already entrenched in it. They're used to it. They're getting their supply from a black market dealer. I'm sure drug dealers are rejoicing over this. Trudie?
Well, you know, I have, since I lost the argument against legalization, I have been forced to embrace the harm reduction philosophy about cannabis use. And I don't see this as reducing harm to young people. I think it pushes them to black market sources with perhaps questionable products of unknown provenance. How
is this better?
It puts them in contact with dealers and traffickers, which is not a safe thing. It raises your chances actually of being involved in a crime if you're in the company, just in the company of people involved in the drug trade. So that's not good. I think the health question is divided too, and it may explain why the health minister was not front and center on this, because Quebec's own public health agency was opposed to this. So I think
the government asked them, say, give us the data. We want to push this through, but we want some data to back us up. And they're like, there's no data. It doesn't exist. This is a dumb idea.
It's also a question of money, right? This is a big win for
organized crime.
Organized crime for the 21. But I'm saying, because you said that maybe there's some dissension within the caucus. The cannabis has brought in a lot of money right now into the government, right? And I mean, obviously at the beginning, not as much because there's a setup cost and everything. Yeah. But at one point, it's going to start rolling in. And I mean, they're opening up more and more. You're seeing these places open up more and more. So I'm sure that's also a concern of François Legault and the cabinet to sort of say, all right, we still want to keep this revenue. This is a lot of money that comes into the government, and it's easy money, right? Because this demand isn't going to go away. So
in terms of revenue, you have to ask yourself who's doing the happy dance today. It's the underworld.
Yes.
It's the biker gangs. It's the underworld, because they're going to have a big slice of this primo age category for cannabis consumption preserved just for them. The government has handed them a gigantic gift. I also wonder what's going to happen in border communities because, my daughter went to university in Ottawa, and the traffic across the bridge to Hull to get to the bars for the alcohol on the Quebec side. Is it going to be reversed now? Mm-hmm. Are you going to have Quebecers going into Ottawa, getting stoned, and then driving back? Is that going to become a thing now? It's again.
But why just get if you're if they're like, oh, we care so much about the health of our youth and developing bodies, well, then why aren't they raising? Why isn't the age for tobacco going up to 21? Why are we raising the age for alcohol to 21? They know it wouldn't stop anything there. I mean, this is just absolute nonsense. I want to point out that all the opposition parties voted against this, right? Mm. So this is another example of the CAQ government that wins an election out of the cities, and I'm talking about all the cities. You look at the top 6 cities in Quebec. That's where they didn't sweep the table here. And so rural Quebec leads them to victory. All the other parties are against this. They represent what? The 35-40% tops. And they're just saying, we have a mandate. We have the strongest mandate of all time. We're going to completely change Quebec. I mean, this is getting crazy here. The light from the planet Smart is so far away from this government. It would take 80 billion years to reach it and smack them in the face.
But they campaigned on this. I just want
they
to
did.
say,
Yeah, but who elected them?
Saying,
the question is who elected them.
And I'm not defending this, right? I don't want to take that way. But they campaigned on this, right? So let's not be surprised that this thing came through. I'm just actually surprised at how quickly it came through. Mm-hmm. Like it was almost like all right, let's get this out there, bang, it's gone.
I really thought they would have let's be realistic here. Let's look at the facts. Governments don't go through with everything. They're just going through with anything that they feel got them 12% of their votes. Let's do it. And I think if you polled CAQ voters, they wouldn't be 100% on this. They wouldn't be at 80% of this.
And I don't understand the public space things. I mean, even if you were to agree or not agree with this, the public space things. I mean, it's just
that's
another
another situation where we should be applying harm reduction. Where do you think it would be safer for people to consume the stuff if they're going to choose to consume?
Yeah.
Is it a back alley on a dark night?
No, but is
it behind someone's garage?
I agree with you, but they're also throwing this back into the municipalities, right? So it's like you said. It's the case of Ottawa and of course Hull, but in Montreal you can have Montreal that says, well, we're okay with public spaces. Hampstead that says no. Westmount that says yes in certain areas. So you got to be careful which side of the street you're on in some areas.
I just don't think this junior health minister had a fun happening university days, and he wants to take it out on the rest of us. All right, back here on the panel, superheroes in the studio. It's Trudie Mason and Jimmy Zoubris joining me this morning. We were talking about Quebec's, most popular superheroes. We dealt with Captain Buzzkill, the junior health minister. Now let's talk about the immigration minister, and immigration in 18 other titles: truth, plenty, war, peace, all of them. And Simon Jolin Barrette, another promise. They promised it. Got to do it. The values test is coming to an immigrant near you. A couple of differences, though, because they know they can't get away with applying it to people who have already been granted permanent residency status, citizenship. They can't kick anyone out once the federal government says, yep, you're a citizen or you're in this country now. So they want to make them pass this test as part of the selection process, right? So for some people, and it came up during the federal election debates, right? Justin Trudeau said, this is how you can do it. If you want to do it during the selection process, you're allowed, and it's a part of the thing. Now, this is a government. They already dropped immigration from 52,000 to 40,000. They already did that, right? And we were told they were doing it because they wanted to focus more on the economic immigrant, which is already dealing with that selection process, and get rid of the riffraff. So what is this? What's the problem that this solution is seeking here? Do we absolutely need to have this values test? What's the problem this values test will solve for the CAQ government?
Well, when you become a Canadian citizen, you also write a test, right? In all fairness, and it's usually when you write a test.
Oh, it's a test. Who's the first prime minister of Canada?
Yeah, who's the current prime minister? Something like that. It's a very. I remember when my mother did it in the 70s. I think the question she was asked was, "Who's the prime minister?" Right?
Yeah.
Pierre Elliott Trudeau. Oh, you're in.
Yeah.
So it's a very simple thing.
This
so
is a lot different, though.
This is a lot different, and it's something they promised, and it's something. Again, it's really appealing to his base. because this goes hand in parcel with Bill 21, which of course is concerning laïcité in the public sector, and this is just a continuation of that. I'd love to see what this test is going to say. I can't. I know we.
Yeah. It's a test. It's a test like you're one of us, or you don't get in. That's what this test is.
I mean, is the test going to ask that if you see a person walking down the street with a kippah, you have to report him because, the person can't be wearing a kippah working in the public sector, not walking down the street, but working in the public sector. So I don't know what this test is going to be. I can't even imagine the questions this test is going to be, but it's really going to create, again, it's going to create another industry, right? Because we're going to have a lot of these immigration people. I'll help you pass this test. I'll show you what's a good Quebecer, right? And this is what a good Quebecer is.
Well, I mean, like Jimmy, I want to see the questions. The declaration that was submitted to the official Gazette says it will be based on Quebec's Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So is it going to be fact-based? Is it just going to be questions of what the Charter protects?
Yeah.
I'm not that upset with that. I think it's kind of dumb to be testing people on that when we have a manpower shortage and we're supposed to be selecting for education and skills to prioritize jobs and the ability of new arrivals to get work. It seems to be pretty dumb to, be focusing on this. But my whole stand on this is it could be a lot worse. That whole notion of kicking people out if they couldn't pass the test after 2 years here, that was just inhumane and stupid. The province didn't have the power to do it, and to do that to families after they've set up here, that was just inhumane. So in the selection process, that's an improvement. It's not great, but it's an improvement.
But what is my initial question? What's the problem it's solving?
It's the same problem as Bill 21 is designed to solve. It's a problem that doesn't exist. It's to emphasize the separation of church and state, and in my view, to keep Muslims out. That's all this is about, is to discourage the public expression of a particular religion or several particular religions that Dessouche Quebecers are not very comfortable with. Oh, pardon me. The Matthew Bach-Cote expression, I believe now, is traditional francophones. Yeah. We don't use that whole Dessouche Quebecer because that might be racist.
I think this goes along the lines of, was it the mayor of some little town, I don't remember, was who instead of saying what the law, he says, this is who we are. So now you got to fall into this box of saying, this is what we believe in.
It was the Bloc Québécois campaign slogan in this last election campaign. Le Québec, c'est nous. I mean, come on. But, it also basically the idea here is that you'll be able to foil someone. Like, someone won't be intelligent enough to answer, do women have full rights? Should I answer my true conviction of no, or should I write yes? I mean, like, how are you not going to be able to get through this quote unquote test?
You know what's interesting too, Elias, is that my future sister-in-law just passed her Canadian citizenship test and attained her Canadian citizenship, and she's not allowed to talk about the test.
Oh,
because it's supposed to be secret, and the questions are changed every now and then.
First rule of Fight Club: no talking about Fight Club.
Are we even going to know what the values test is? Are we going to be? Oh,
it'll be leaked. It'll be leaked without a doubt. There's no question about it. But again, it comes down to, we'd have to see what the questions are. I mean, if it's like you said, is that, do you believe in a society that's where laïcité is? Well, sure.
The other thing that scares me is that Wonder Boy, the immigration minister, Simon Jolin Barrette, I really think he doesn't think he's ever come up with a bad idea. I think he thinks every single thing that he thinks is fantastic, and there's no like, oh, maybe we should do it. There's nothing. It's just like, yeah, we're going through. It's full steam ahead. A province that was chugging, that was running along really nicely, best economic state ever as of November of last year, and now we get to see what these kinds of little tapping on the brakes will do long term.
Well, look, he promised in the next election that he would bring in a different system where, it's not first past the post. Let's see, because right now, like you said, with 40%, the CAQ can pretty much do whatever they want.
Okay, guys, this next one, it also deals with the CAQ government. And, it's interesting because, to be honest, sometimes I want to avoid certain topics. And this story that's been going on in the background about the Quebec Community Groups Network, this English rights group, and having a little tiff with the Secretariat, Christopher Skeet, and the CAQ government. I was like, you know what? I don't know if a large swath of Anglophones care too much. So I've been leaning away from it. But then yesterday, on the Aaron Rand show, Christopher Skeet is on with Aaron Rand. And Aaron, with a masterful performance here, brings Christopher Skeet on, sort of sets him up, and then says, he dives into this question of the QCGN and what they're saying about, hey, the CAQ government is trying to undermine us. So listen to this. You're going to hear Aaron set up a question, then you're going to hear a clip of Jeffrey Chambers, and then you're going to hear the response from Christopher Skeet. I think it's telling. Have a listen.
Okay, I want to play this other clip. So if you're not intentionally doing this or whatever, you have, of course, been going across the province, listening to a variety of groups, taking in what they have to say. And so I asked Jeff Chambers if he thought, if this was a ploy by the government, if you were doing this intentionally. Listen to this clip.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, I have a tape of the secretary of the secretariat going to a CHSSN meeting, telling them, tell the QCGN to shut up, or we're going to take your money away.
Christopher?
Well, that's a crazy assertion. I've never heard that, and it would be totally unacceptable. That is not the way the Quebec government does business. I'd be very surprised to hear something like that happening, and I'll go a step further and say, that is not how the Quebec government does business. The way it funds
this goes on for another few seconds here, but you heard the... I don't know. Was it a denial? Because he never says I didn't say that. But what Jeffrey Chambers alleges in that interview that was, I believe, on the Andrew Carter morning show, what Jeffrey Chambers alleges in that interview is we have a tape. We have a tape where the Secretariat says, shut up or we take away your funding to one of these smaller English language groups that's a part of the QCGN. Guys, to me, this is like, whoa.
This is, I don't know if you'd be asking me that question. Do we do things like that? Never.
Yeah. Yeah. And the denial wasn't, I never said that, we would never do it. It wasn't. It was a sort of hem and haw.
I think the first thing is I know that Jeffrey Chambers has been under quite a bit of pressure the last few days from different groups. Jeffrey Chambers, I think, does a wonderful job. It's a more quiet leadership. It's not as
why is it like a dozen groups now have backed out of this QCGN, right? It's like, I think it's up to a dozen.
Yeah, because I think they're afraid of the government, and I think they're terrified of the government. I think that this is something that the one thing we're going to remember is that Christopher Skeet is not a minister, right? He's the point man on Anglo relations, and he answers directly to one person, which is the premier. So he's a very, very important person. He has a very, very tough dossier. If there's a tape in which he said this, I think it's really damning because obviously, holding people's money, and that's how these organizations work, right? Is that if they don't have this money, some of them wouldn't survive. They just don't get enough public money. I think this is quite damning. I think the premier might have to weigh in on this.
Well, I'm calling on Jeffrey Chambers to release the
tapes.
You've made a serious accusation of blackmail. A government blackmailing community groups into being quiet on issues. And I think that once you've done that, as Jeffrey Chambers did on airwaves, you're going to have to back it up. I want to hear the tape when that's said. I also question whether he's accusing Skeet himself of saying that, because he says, I have on tape the Secretariat. And I wonder if it's just Secretariat officials, if it's people who work for Christopher Skeet in conversation with these groups. So I want to know who was it who said it and what was said. And that means the tape has to be released. So Jeffrey Chambers, I would like to hear the tape.
We have reached out to Jeffrey Chambers in the QCGN because we absolutely want to hear that tape if it exists.
But this just goes to show you the strained relationships between Anglo groups and this government. And I know Christopher Skeet he's been everywhere. He's been meeting with people, and it's a very tough thing. And I'm not going to defend Christopher Skeet or the government, but it's a very tough issue because now we seem to have also Anglo groups that are a little more have a little more fight in them.
I can defend Christopher Skeet because I know he's in a tough position, right? He's a founding member of the party, and he's got to deal with that. I take that, but this is a serious accusation, guys. Can I lighten up the mood just for a bit?
Sure.
All right, let's talk about death on airplanes. CEO of Boeing. I mean, seriously. CEO of Boeing admitted that his company got some things wrong with the 737 MAX, speaking before Congress was in Washington, D.C. But guys, you make these kinds of mistakes, hundreds of people are dead. What does it take for a bigwig CEO to lose his job in America?
for the share price to drop. Yeah.
That's
So
all it is.
when that happens in the sustained way, they're going to give them the boot.
It did.
Well,
I would expect that this CEO is going to be gone very, very soon. I can't see him surviving this. I think the board of directors, probably their stock market price dropped, and changing a CEO right away would probably allow it to plummet even more. They probably want some stability. This is horrible because this almost goes back to like I remember with the Volkswagen thing where the CEO, somebody covered up here somewhere, right?
Yeah, but with at least with Volkswagen,
nobody died.
You know,
I'm just
getting
saying.
it's an emissions scandal. With this, like hundreds of people are.
What I'm trying to
falling out of
say is that
skydive.
there was a cover up, right?
Yeah.
And the question is how far up the cover up went. I would expect that this CEO very soon, Christmas, is going to announce his retirement.
Listen, guys, I love you very much for dealing with me this morning. There you go.
You have a fighting mood today.
Yeah, well, when the superheroes unite, you know, it's up to the citizens
to
to
say,
fight back.
Avengers, assemble!
That's right.
Trudie Mason right there. Jimmy Zoubris. Thanks, guys. Oh, man.